Hi, and welcome to Z Games.
Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane.
And broadcast nationally across the Community Radio Network. Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community, and culture.
From across Australia to around the world. Coming at you live from 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane. You might be hanging out with us on 102.1 FM, on Z Digital, on iTunes or Spotify, or around the country on the Community Radio Network. This is Z Games, and we're going to be chatting video games for the rest of this time that we're with you. My name is Jack. And this is where you guys do. Who are you? I'm waiting.
I was waiting for an epic introduction.
No.
And joining me in the studio is this awesome person, Candi Payne.
All of you are awesome.
That's fine. I'll just do it myself.
Candi Payne, the
Thank
awesome
you.
Candi Payne.
That's me.
Candi, the awesome Payne.
Yep.
And Ray.
Radical Ray.
Radical Ray.
Radical Ray Zor.
And just Scott.
That's
it. Just Scott.
See, that's what I was expecting,
Scott.
and then it didn't go quite as planned. We're going to be chatting a few different things through the show. Ray, you've been playing Persona 3, 4, and 5 Dancing.
Yes.
They made a dancing game for each of the good ones.
They did, yes. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight.
And then Persona 4 dancing all night.
All night, baby. And we're here all night.
We don't stop dancing.
We do not.
I had no idea that's what you were reviewing tonight.
Yeah.
That's going to be hilarious.
We got the one code, and it's 3 completely different dancing games.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a long
So
night.
pumped.
I've played them in Japanese, so I'm very excited to see if they have any story significance whatsoever.
I'll tell you all about the story, Jack. Can't wait.
That's exciting. Candi,
Yes.
you've been playing the first tree,
Yes.
and it sounds beautiful.
Yes. It's only a short game. I think it actually came out last year, but it's only just launched on all of the consoles this year. So I've just caught up to speed.
Cool.
But it is a stunning little narrative journey that I can't wait to share.
Very, very excited about that. First, though, we have the week in... Oh, and also, before I forget, I was like, we're going to be talking about this very soon, but also the Brisbane Game Awards happened.
Yeah, we got together some of the local games media in Brisbane.
Yes.
All 5 of them, because there's not really that much.
There's so many games media outlets in Brisbane.
Big
God.
night out.
But yeah, we all sat down and figured out what the best games in Brisbane were for 2018. So
Beautiful.
Talk about that later.
Nice.
But first, now we're actually doing the gaming news headlines.
The big headlines.
The big
Do
headlines.
that. Daybreak Game Company has confirmed that 70 workers have been laid off in a major downsizing that is mainly affecting its Austin, Texas-based studio. The studio is responsible for developing games like DC Universe Online, EverQuest, H1Z1, and PlanetSide 2. Statements made by company chief and founder John Smedley suggests that Daybreak is restructuring as a result of less than expected revenue streams. It's not known how this news will affect the development of their active portfolio titles.
How many of those are active, Ray?
EverQuest is still going. I think there's
EverQuest is.
EverQuest 2 or 3 or something like that.
PlanetSide 2 is still active on PS4 and PC.
Yeah, but it's mostly garbage, I believe.
It is not garbage.
Isn't it?
No, it's like actually a pretty competent free-to-play shooter.
Okay. Oh,
It's
my
not-
mistake.
Honestly.
These are all just personal opinions. Yours is
You're
justified.
wrong.
DC Universe Online was a solid game that I enjoyed for a good few months.
8 years ago.
A long time ago. I didn't pay any money towards them, and maybe that's why they're going under now, so sorry about that.
Well, Daybreak was originally, their studio was
Sony.
Sony Online Entertainment. So they were on Sony money for a while. And then I'm not sure if Sony kicked them to the curb or if they decided to break off, but it was Feb 15 that they broke off as Daybreak Games. People at the time were talking about, is PlanetSide 2 going to come to like Xbox One now and like all this other stuff? Obviously, H1Z1 is probably one of their more profitable titles, just because it's...
That's still a Sony exclusive, though, isn't it?
Well, it's on PC.
Right.
It's on Steam as well, so
Okay.
it might be a Sony console exclusive.
Cool.
But yeah, that's... So they laid off how much of their staff?
A third.
You're good with
Jesus.
fractions. Yep. That many. I'm not. I was going to say 70 and you just went a third.
Yeah.
That's big numbers. Yeah.
Well, when's the last time you guys talked about H1Z1 though? Like, is it that surprising?
H1Z1's been out for so long. Like, it hasn't really made any meaningful headlines for at least the last 5 years. When did DayZ come out? That was like 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's just going to come out officially very soon, I think. Apparently, so get ready for the big launch.
I'm so sick of early access games being in early access for half a decade.
They've made millions of this game and they're just releasing it already. That's crazy, eh?
Well, Fortnite's still in beta, so one day.
He's hoping.
So when they release is when they're like, oh, we're starting to make slightly less insane bank.
Yeah.
Jesus. 70 workers is 1/3, so they've gone from about 200 to about 150. That's I'd say a pretty meaningful chunk of...
Absolutely. It also means that they may not be rushing into developing any new titles. They might be just like going maintenance on their supporting their existing titles, which is a big shame.
I imagine that when you're cutting that many people, they might want to pull back on how many products they're supporting so that they can reallocate resources. Because obviously this is made in an effort to save money. Right?
Yeah, they should just straight up shut down PlanetSide 2. Just
what's your beef with PlanetSide 2, dude? It's like a good game. Like it's dollar store space Battlefield.
Yeah. Bin it.
Okay, fine, whatever. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, everyone at that Austin, Texas-based studio finds work.
Yeah. The 2018 Game Awards were held in Los Angeles, California last week, with Sony's God of War taking out the coveted main prize. Red Dead Redemption 2 is another hot favourite, winning prizes for Best Narrative, Audio Design and Performance for lead actor Roger Clark. Popular favourite Fortnite won the category for Best Multiplayer Experience. In addition to the awards, fans were treated to sneak previews of upcoming titles, including a teaser for a new Dragon Age game from BioWare, an announcement for Mortal Kombat 11, and the surprising reveal of a new entry in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance franchise exclusively for the Nintendo Switch.
I don't care about the Marvel Ultimate Alliance franchise game whatsoever. Have you seen it?
Yeah, and you're silly for saying that.
Why don't you care about it?
Superheroes, Marvel, DC, complete over the top. Do not care.
Yeah.
That is something that I've never been into. It's something that I've never really cared about.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah. Firstly, what's wrong with
Actually,
you?
what is wrong
That
with
was
you?
the most sustained stink eye I've ever seen in my life, Candi. Holy crap. I don't care. Sorry. But also the gameplay. Of this Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 or whatever it is on Switch, it just looks like a top-down brawler game. Like the gameplay itself doesn't look particularly inspired.
Hey, let me sell it to you,
cool.
Jack.
Do
All
it.
right, these games, the first two games were amazing games in the sort of PlayStation 2 era. Imagine Diablo with 3 friends, except one of you's Iron Man, another one of you's Wolverine. You got Spider-Man and Rogue or
Spider-Man.
Storm or your favorite Marvel superhero, and you're all going through and you got like push X to Wolverine claw, you push
X to Wolverine?
push circle to
Do you know
teleport
how
right
many
claw.
times a day I wish I could just push X to Wolverine claw
Yeah.
at work? Like, that would just make my
in the
day
office,
so much
the
easier.
dream.
I mean, it's Diablo with the Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man, and all the other Marvel heroes. Like, what else do you need to know, Jack?
Sure.
It's amazing.
Sure.
This is great. What is most surprising is the fact that it's going to be a Nintendo exclusive, which is...
That's not surprising at all.
It isn't? Oh, well...
When you look at it, it is a multiplayer cooperative / competitive game.
Yeah.
What other platforms do local cooperative or competitive games
True
flourish
that.
on?
Anyway,
Switch.
I'm all in for that. I think that's super exciting. Dragon Age game, yeah.
Oh, it's 2 years off, mate.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to.
No.
Mortal Kombat
11.
11.
You hype? Yeah?
Oh my god! When did we get to 8, 9, and 10? Like,
Just skipped them.
Holy sugar! That is.
You'd like the latest Mortal Kombat game, Candi, if you haven't played it. It's very graphic, very
No,
horrible.
I feel like I have, but I didn't realize that was the number I was
8,
playing.
9, and 10.
Like,
Mortal Kombat
I
X, yeah.
Like, I played a classic version on my classic Xbox, and then I skipped a chunk, and then I played the last one where it was like all, 3D skeletons and like X-rays and stuff.
That'd
and
be
it was
Mortal Kombat X, wouldn't it? Maybe?
It's probably why X.
X,
Yeah,
got
X.
past
That's
it.
what
Yeah,
got me.
yeah.
I didn't 10. Got it. Now I get
Yeah.
it. So 11. Shit, eh? That's up there with the numbers. That's a long-running franchise.
Also, just quickly, God of War getting Game of the Year.
What?
I was chatting with a friend of mine because we were watching the Game Awards. It's a 3-hour show. And I was at work and we were on break, and I was like, I guarantee Red Dead is not going to get Game of the Year. It's going to get 7 other awards, but if they get Game of the Year as well, it looks like they got paid out. They cannot do that. And then God of War, and I was like, told you, Matt, they got paid out.
Yeah.
No, they didn't get paid out. It's just like Red Dead had such an insane budget that obviously there's no way that game could have been bad.
Yeah, but I think to not award it Game of the Year might be a little bit disingenuous.
Really?
A little.
God of War? Really?
God of War was fantastic. I mean, there's two titans going head to head. And you know what? Let's plug the Z Games Game of the Year show, which is going to be next week, next Wednesday, where we all individually battle amongst ourselves to determine our favorite games of the year, and those are the only awards that actually matter.
Game Awards under the rug. Who
Don't
cares?
worry about this big fancy Los Angeles ceremony that cost $1 million. Tune in next week to Triple Z for the real Game of the Year awards.
Yes, but also just quickly, am I the only one that's getting sick of Arthur Morgan's voice real quick? Like
no,
Roger Clark?
it's like honey for me.
Does it just, are you, seriously?
Come on, boy.
I just can't handle. I don't know.
No.
I don't enjoy listening to him speak.
Oh, you're in the minority there, I'm afraid.
Really?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Sure.
Did you guys see too? We had a little bit of Aussie representation at the awards with Florence winning Mobile Game of the Year
It didn't win Mobile Game of the Year.
or Indie Game of the Year.
It
won
was
something.
nominated. It was nominated.
It
A
won
nomination
something.
is still great.
I swear
Yes.
it won something.
No, it didn't. I don't believe it won. I think it was nominated. Celeste was up there for Game of the Year, which was sick. God, Celeste was so good. Florence was there. I feel like there was at least one other Aussie game there. There were a bunch of other announcements, though, at that presentation, most of which revolved around the Epic Game Store, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of new games that are coming exclusively. The Bastion and Transistor guys have a new game.
Oh.
With this...
Hades.
Yeah. And the voice actor just... Oh, man, I love it so much already. But it's early access, so I'm not going to touch it for a year. Ashen is out. Did you play Ashen at PAX?
Nah. I didn't go to PAX.
Last year.
All right.
Yeah, I was there for 2 years in a row. That's from a New Zealand team.
And then Below comes out next week, finally, after like 5-6 years.
From Cappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that at the Game Awards as well?
I thought it was mentioned.
It was just... I heard about it around then.
Okay.
But Below looks sick also. Hype as hell.
Florence Mobile Game of the Year.
Oh, it was.
Thank you, Google.
Fact checked.
Heck.
You got fact checked, Jack.
I'll see myself out. Bye.
we got to do that more often.
And last but not least, in the news... It's been a while since I've read the news, okay, to be fair. John Romero, co-creator of seminal PC game Doom, has announced he will be developing a spiritual successor to the beloved first-person shooter. Sigil is being released as an unofficial mod for the original game, which had its source code released into the public domain in the late 90s. Sigil will be released online for free and will feature 9 single-player levels and 9 multiplayer arenas. A limited edition physical version of the game will also be released, and the game is expected out in February.
How are they releasing a physical mod? It's an unofficial mod and they're doing a physical release?
Yeah.
What?
It's got like a fancy
limited
box
edition,
art
dude.
with pentagrams on it, and the box might be cursed as well by John Romero himself. So, I mean,
great.
that's worth $40 US.
Yeah.
Sold.
PUBG was a mod that went to retail, so there's a roadmap there.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Hey, you know when you go to the EB Games, games retail outlets of unknown name, and you see the Fortnite,
So smooth.
the Fortnite box is there, and like all the kids are showing the parents the Fortnite box, which is a free game, and it's for like V-Bucks or for some lame bunny outfit or a dance, and the parents don't know that the game's actually free, but the kids got this box in their arm saying, "Hey, this is the best game. Buy it for me. It's $40."
It's just skins,
It's
dude.
it's a
just
scam.
skins. It's not a scam. Like, the kids want... Like, sure, as far as value for money for the parents...
If you're paying for a free game, it's a scam.
Yeah, but the kids want this extra stuff.
Kids aren't smart, so...
Apparently they are.
Well, then the parents aren't smart.
No, you know who's smart? Epic Games.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're making bank.
Yeah.
They're launching a new studio in Australia.
Oh, are they?
Tony, did you not get that from... So at Game Connect Asia Pacific, Tony Reid was saying he was stepping down from the Game Developers Association of Australia to found an Epic Games studio in Melbourne.
Oh my god, that's huge news.
Yes. you missed. Heard it here last on Zed Games.
So last but not least in the news is actually your story.
So yeah, like that was announced at GCAP. It was a month at least, a month and a half ago now. And then obviously they're putting a lot of money into the Epic Games Store, where developers are getting a better cut than Steam gives them. They've been giving better cuts to developers on the Epic, on the Unreal Engine Store, where developers get like assets and whatever else.
Right.
So it's not like Epic is just like hoarding all of this money, and because at this point, like so many people hate Fortnite. Like the YouTube Rewind thing got 8 million downvotes because they spoke about Fortnite.
I heard some terrible things on the news this week about what Fortnite does to people.
They never shut up about it.
Yeah.
But like Epic is kind of, I think, being savvy about how they're investing into the industry. And you know, like obviously they'd need to get pretty significant funds to be able to put into a big Australian studio to be able to launch a new games marketplace and get all of these exclusives and market them at the Game Awards. They're making hella bank.
That's crazy.
That is the week in gaming news headlines, and also, I guess, the last month and a half's headlines.
Coming at you live on 4ZZZ or around the country on the Community Radio Network with Razor, Jack, Scott, and Candi. Now, Candi, you've been playing delightful 3D game.
Yes, The First Tree.
There's a fox in it.
There's a fox in
Sold.
this game.
Sold.
Yeah,
Sold.
right. I know, that's pretty much what sold me. The First Tree by David Wheel. I think he voices it, he's designed it, he's done the whole thing except for the music, which I have to say is by Josh Kramer because it is absolutely stunning, and you'll hear a clip of that next. I want to preface this review by saying I don't really know how to review this game, purely because it's not a long game, and so much of this is an exploration, and to say too much actually gives away everything that you discover in the game about the story and about yourself as a person. Ooh. It is it's
deep.
It is unbelievably deep. It's a third-person walking journey, an emotional walking journey with two parallel storylines. So you physically are playing as a fox who is looking for her 3 missing cubs. Whilst on your journey as a fox, you start to hear a voiceover by a guy and his girlfriend, partner, wife, not sure their relationship, they're obviously together. And he is obviously expressing emotion in issues that he's having with his father. So it's a really interesting juxtaposition of adult human things going on while you're running around as a fox in these incredibly beautiful landscapes.
And so is that effective or is it jarring? Because it sounds like they kind of loosely connected things, but not necessarily.
They're loosely connected maybe for 70% of the gameplay, and then towards the end, you realise that his story and her story, so his as a son and hers as a mother, are actually quite intertwined because they're both experiencing the same emotional loss. So it's a really difficult one, and Razor's got it on his screen now, and I'm watching it again because I've only just recently played this. It says, in all the reviews you read about it, the developer himself, he says it's like a 2-hour game. I know I spent closer to 4 hours playing this, and I've had a good 8 hours worth of the music just playing on the screen. Like I actually just left my TV running on the opening credits so I could listen to the music over and over and over because it is the most beautiful piano and cello pieces, the most melodic score I've ever heard, and it just completely draws at the heartstrings. So basically you're running around as a fox. Like the gameplay is really basic. I played this on the PlayStation. One button makes her run or slowly walk, one makes her jump, one makes her dig. That's really all the movement that you need. There's no obvious path for this fox to follow. You just are kind of loosely guided by some little orbs of light, and the whole point is that you're finding these little orbs of light, and they're meant to represent you and your soul and your journey and your path and the guiding light basically. But there's not a lot of them, and it's not actually directing you in any path that you're meant to follow.
Does it get frustrating trying to find them sometimes?
There was only one scene. Well, you don't actually really know if you're even supposed to collect all of them. I don't think you need to. It's part of the storyline that he is explaining to his girlfriend. It's a really interesting story where it takes you back to this guy when he's quite young, and it starts in it's primary school for him. and he's talking about the relationship with his father at the time, how much his father used to work, and you can kind of hear in these stories that he's telling his girlfriend their relationship is going off course a little bit. So he's getting older, he's becoming a teenager, his father's working a lot, they don't spend a lot of physical time together, and he starts hanging out with the wrong group of friends. This whole story, as you're running around as the fox, though, you just know from the way the music is written that it's going to be heartbreaking no matter what you do in this story. But you don't quite know what's happened to the father or their relationship. You are, as the fox, obviously trying to find your cubs. And you're running through, maybe there's 5 or so different landscapes. I think you're running through snow, like beautiful snowy mountains in one of them. Then you're running through like green fields. So it feels like you're going through all of the different seasons, really. Then there's spring forests where all the flowers are in bloom and it's stunning. And it becomes quite dense, so it's a little bit harder for you to run around when you're, running through all of the bushes and the flowers and things like that. What she uncovers along the way is the other thing that you're looking for are these trigger points, I guess, that kind of reactivate the voiceover of, the guy that you're listening to telling the story about his father. So you're looking for these like long stretches of light that are explaining the story a little bit more. So it's really well done that you don't really need to follow a path, because no matter which way you come across these stories, it sort of all still makes sense. Like, it's been really well recorded that he might be telling you a story about a toy boat that his father carved, or, but they're snippets of his life that don't need to go in an exact order for that section of his childhood to make sense, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you're digging up, you'll find these little patches of earth, and it encourages you to dig them, and that will reveal another part of this guy's story. So it's just emotional. Like, I cried twice, and anyone that's listened to this show for the last 8 years will know that there's maybe one other game in my history of playing games that has done that to me. That was the end of a BioShock game. And this is the only other one. So it's really beautiful. It's incredibly difficult. I feel like Lee would be really great at describing this, because that man has a way with words. However,
but it's difficult to describe.
It is, because I feel like I'm going to give it away, and every part of me just wants to tell you the ending and why I cried so much. But you just need to play it. And you may not have that reaction. That's the thing. It was just how I interpreted the game, and I guess that's what this game does. Is it makes you kind of, I don't know, examine yourself as a person and how you're reacting to what you're finding in the game and the story that you're listening to, and whether or not you're hearing what he's saying. You're still finding these little snippets, and so you kind of start to build this story of what's happened to the father before you even hear him say the words, And so it's really well done, but then at some point it crosses over and becomes the girlfriend's story. So then she pipes up, because then you realise it's kind of a story about friendship and love as well, and so she's there to support him through whatever emotional
turmoil,
hardship he's going through. And so then she's sharing a story. So suddenly the graphics change quite a lot. And no longer is it his dream that he's telling about this fox and the stories with his father. And it becomes a very different landscape, where she's now sharing a story of her mother and her father and a family that she found along the way to support her. And so it's really interesting how, the fox might go from running through a field to all of a sudden it's a girlfriend story, and now you're running through what feels like a puddle of water, and this never-ending puddle of water, but you're obviously surrounded just by stars and glowing objects, and it's just a really interesting shift in graphics to make you think about her story. But then it comes back to the fox's story, and then the way it all sort of pulls together at the end, and it really centers around this sort of the life cycle, and this tree, and all of these incredibly heartwarming things. And it's one game where there's a section, I don't feel like this is giving it away, but after 2 hours of running through all of these different scenes and looking for the fox and hearing the son's story, and you know what has now happened by this point, and you know what's happened to her and her family, she reaches a tree, and this tree asks if there's a message that you would like to leave. So you, as the player, physically type into the screen a message for this fox and her family. And I would love to know who else has played this and what they wrote, because you can actually leave this message for others to read on the tree when they experience it as well. And it was a really beautiful touch, because I was just so wrapped up in both of these stories and couldn't work out why I was getting so emotional, because it wasn't my story, but it was so beautifully done. And then all of a sudden to be asked to leave some heartwarming message for these characters in this game was just like, after only 2 hours, 3 hours of knowing these characters, that's just a really beautiful touch. And then you think the game's ended, and I encourage you all to please stick with it past that point, because the graphics change from being... I realise now, I feel like the way this guy, David, has designed it is because it's meant to feel like a dreamscape. I just thought it was designed that way because it was a short indie game and that was the end of it. It's kind of... Ray, how did you describe it?
Stylized, cel-shaded, cartoony.
Kind of cartoony, yeah, sort of sharp, flat edges, like if she falls off a cliff, she kind of just bounces down. She's not going to get hurt. It's quite stiff movements, basically. All of the plants are sort of blowing and they feel like a bit stiff back and forth, but it still all comes together from a distance really quite beautifully. Yeah. But then you break through all of these big emotional hurdles, you get through to the very end, and you take on, as playing this male voice that you've listened to the whole way, and you become him for the last segment of this game. And the graphics just change, and they are soft and they're flowing, and it is just absolutely stunning. And you realise he's, living in the house of his parents, or we're assuming that's what it is, and he takes a walk around outside and just looking at this same region that this fox has been running through, but now to see it through this human's eyes.
Different eyes, yeah.
Absolutely stunning. So I encourage everyone to play this. Just if you need a 2-3 hour calm down, or just you need an emotional outlet for whatever reason, play this and listen to the music.
If you're thinking you might need a cry, probably play the game.
Yeah, it's not at all what I was expecting, and I don't know that I've ever played a game that has hit me like this one, which is very unique for me to choose a game like that, but even more unique for somebody to have such a short game make such an impact. So, The First Tree.
Out now on PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC. Everything.
Yes, it's now on all of the consoles as of October.
Damn.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Candi. Hopefully you're not too emotionally distraught at this point. You're just you've got a little bit more emotional through that review.
I'm watching it. Buddy Razor's playing it next to me, and I'm watching it, and I know what was happening in that segment and how confused I was getting and running around as a frantic fox, but also a little bit frustrated because I couldn't find my way out of that scene. But still, most importantly, just,
You're hanging out on Z Games. Scott.
Yo.
The Brisbane Game Awards.
Yes, they happened.
I wish I had some sort of da-da-da, some sort of sting to play.
No, that's the appropriate amount of
that's pretty that's about how much, because there were 5 games media outlets in Brisbane.
Yes, we got them all together. Yeah. We finally did it. It's December, so it's Game of the Year
What
season.
are the outlets, Scott?
So
interest?
We've got yourself, Fraser, representing Z
Me?
Games. Yes. You were great.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember doing that.
Yeah.
Graceful enough to answer emails and stuff after bugging him for a while. We got Brisbane Byte, we got Geek Society, Dice and Pixel Podcast, and 8.5-Bit Podcast.
Fine stable of outlets there.
Yes. And so we had some really good representation this year. In the mobile game, we had Super Starfish took out the award, but we had Isavara and Skyward Journey are up there. Damsel, which has been in early access for a very long time.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
They took out the PC award, but
That's great.
they had to fight off Lanterns. I don't know if you've played Lanterns.
No.
Lanterns was a quaint little game. It was at Game On, and it's a 2D puzzle side-scroller.
Yeah, they took it down to PAX and everything. It had a pretty good showing down
Good
there.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can't beat the behemoth that is Hand of Fate 2.
Yeah.
Which came out on consoles, which made it eligible for Console Game of the Year, which it won handily.
Yay.
And Game of the Year overall.
Wow.
Hand of Fate 2.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Doesn't really surprise.
Yeah, I mean...
It's a fantastic game, one of the best to come out of Australia recently. Well done, Defiant Development, for that.
And they're odds on to win next week at the Australian Game Awards too, just quietly. So,
I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise us at all.
Yeah, I mean, they've been working hard on that game. Free updates all this time, great content, and the concept is just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, in the Brisbane Game Awards, they smashed Think of the Children and Yonder, and they're not slouches.
No, they're not. I've played quite a fair bit of both, and I love both of them.
Yeah.
But no, it's fair.
Yeah. So that was the Brisbane Game Awards, and hopefully next year we can make it bigger and better.
Yes, definitely.
You're hanging out on Z Games. Jack, Candi, Scott, and Ray are in the studio with you.
We are in you, baby. You can't take that back, Crunchy. We're live.
Disgusting. Ray.
All
We
right.
really let our standards slide over the last 8 years.
Oi, we're trying, okay? That's what matters.
Nice.
Ray, you've been playing Persona 3 Dancing
Dancing in Moonlight.
Moonlight.
And as well as that, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight.
Dancing in Starlight. And Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Oh, you skipped that one. All right, sick.
Because that one was released a few years ago.
Did you play it on Vita?
Yes.
Okay, fab.
Yes. So they're sister games relating, of course, to the
Why
two
did I give you
different
that
Persona
code then?
games.
God damn it.
Yeah, so this one requires a little bit of explanation for those who aren't in the know. Persona is a spin-off of a Japanese role-playing game called Megumi Tensei.
No one knows about the
Shin Megami Tensei.
Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, which is a demon hunting Pokemon on crack occult thing.
It was very, very it was very niche for Persona 1 and 2. So Shin Megami Tensei is like this sort of overarching JRPG series, and Persona was like a spin-off.
A spin-off which focuses more on the personalities of the people, and it's about social links, making friends.
Yeah.
The two games in question, Persona 3, Persona 5, both focus on high school-aged people who are friends going to school, doing all sorts of normal teenager
High school
things
stuff,
in Japan.
In Japan, yes.
Doing mundane stuff, like, eating ramen.
In Sunrise Land, yeah.
And doing all that Japanese good stuff. But they are also finding like supernatural demons in this other world.
Yeah, so they'll be like, in Persona 3, there's like this hidden hour between at midnight that like you have access to because you have this special power and you fight demons. Mm-hmm. And then in Persona 5, you get transported to a different realm. Kind of.
Yeah. So they're all based around the same
weird,
kind of premises. I have to say that Persona 5 is probably my favorite Japanese role-playing game of all time. It's absolutely
no surprise.
Slick. It's fantastic.
Style for miles.
Story's great. Yeah, it's oozing with style.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic game. These spin-off games have been coming out for quite a while. Persona 4 got one. I tried that, and I thought it was a little bit of a cash grab. Because in Japan, the Persona franchise is mega huge.
It's insane.
It is like a major cultural phenomenon. And this is kind of trickling down to where we get these strange Persona games that we don't really know what the hell are about.
Persona Q was like a weird mix of like dungeon crawling and Persona. But this one I feel like kind of makes sense because Persona has always been about that style.
Yeah.
And the dancing... They have so much style.
Yeah.
I love it.
So the storyline goes, and this will be of use to Jack because he has only played the Japanese version of the game, which he couldn't understand.
I can understand enough of it.
So basically, everyone is dreaming. So they're in the Velvet Room, which is like a limbo-esque place that is used in the game series where you fuse personas. It's kind of weird and strange, but basically everyone in the game is dreaming, and they go to great lengths to make sure that everyone knows that nothing is of consequence here. And anything they do in this dream dancing world will have no bearing. They won't even remember it when they wake up. And one of the characters asks, won't we remember something or anything? And then the woman who's like the boss of the dream world goes, no, you won't remember anything at all.
Creepy.
So for those who are like worried about where this fits in the Persona timeline with
matter.
canon, yeah, it's
fanfic.
It's just a fun little thing.
It's absolutely fanfic. But the gameplay.
Yeah, so the game is a dancing game. The cast of Persona 3 and the cast of Persona 5 in their respective games have kind of been sucked in, and they've just got to basically dance for their lives. There's a loose thread between the two games. They're two separate games that you have to buy separately, where they're sort of battling against each other. But really, you can just pick up one or the other.
Whichever you're more of a fan of, like Persona 3 or Persona 5, both of them are a retail. You can download them, either.
Persona 3 was dancing in Moonlight was a real treat because I played that game like a whole bunch of time ago. It was a PlayStation 2 game originally, and I haven't really heard anything about it since then. But they've got the voice cast back together. They've got really nice graphics. They've got like this really nice art. They've redone all the characters, and it's just a real joy seeing these characters again in an updated style. So that was a real treat. The gameplay itself, think about Parappa the Rapper, Guitar Hero, Dance Revolution.
So
it's typical.
It's not necessarily a dancing game. It is a rhythm game. You have the characters dancing in the background.
Exactly. So it's not Just Dance where you're actually dancing with the camera. It's
not Just Dance.
Yeah.
It's a rhythm game.
It's different to the Guitar Heroes and the other hero games and what have you, the rock bands, in that instead of having a linear kind of bridge that all the notes are going down. The icons float out towards the end of this, towards the edges of the screen.
And you've got to hit the correct button.
There's like circles all around the screen that correspond to like the X and the circle and the left, right, and down.
Yeah.
And it's got its own visual language, and it takes a while to get used to, but once you do, it's pretty intuitive, and
it makes you feel really like when you're good at the game. It's such a satisfying game to play.
Yeah, the controls have been mapped out really well, so that when you hit a combo in time with the music, it just feels really good and satisfying. Yeah, they've really done a good job there. The unfortunate byproduct is that you can't really look at the very pretty, very stylish graphics while you're doing it because you're so focused on the icons and all the timing, which is a real shame. But I've got to wrap this up pretty quickly. But I think that look, if you're a Persona fan and you're like mega obsessed with it, you've probably already got these games. If you're not and you're on the fence, I don't know if I could recommend this specifically to someone who doesn't know what the hell Persona is.
Oh, no. Okay, if you have never played a Persona game, don't bother.
Yeah.
It's a fun rhythm game, but you really need to be involved in this like fandom.
Yeah.
If you play Persona 3 or 4, like Persona 3 specifically, obviously like ages ago, or maybe dabbled in Persona 5 and you're like, I really enjoyed those characters, I really enjoyed that world, and I kind of want to jump in without spending 100 hours in a JRPG, I think that's what this game's really good for.
That's
like,
true.
Getting you back into the world, the music, the graphics, you can get in without having to invest dozens of hours.
That said, if you haven't played any of them, start with Persona 5. It is a fantastic Japanese role-playing game.
Yes.
And you won't regret it. All 90 hours of the storyline. It's fantastic. One little thing that I should mention before I finish, though, is that on the box it says PlayStation VR compatible.
Yes.
I came in looking at that thinking that it was going to be like some psychedelic, cool
like Res.
VR experience, but really it's just a couple of features within the game where you can look around at a character, rotate a character, and look in a room.
So that's weird.
Otherwise, you're
Can't
just
I
playing
do that, like,
in cinematic
with the
mode.
camera anyway.
Yeah, and it actually is a bit of a detriment because all of the icons are at the side of the screen, and you have to sort of know where they are to tap them in time. And with the PSVR helmet on, you've got to look around to left and right to see where it is. So it really actually takes away from the game. You're better off playing on a TV.
Fair.
Yeah.
That was Persona 3 and 5 Dancing. You can get them individually. You can also get them as part of a bundle, Persona 3, 4, and 5. That's out on PS4 now. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back same time next week with our Game of the Year episode. See you soon.
Bye.